Hey folks, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining us this evening. I am joined for the next hour or so by my pal FoxyJazzabelle. How are you, FoxyJazzabelle?
I'm doing good, Steve of the house Shives.
It's been a while since we talked like this, so this is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, we should do it more often. I've just got so many other things going on outside of YouTube, like
Yeah.
more creative things is if you probably see I'm on Twitter a lot more and stuff. So, and plus since it's my job, like I do graphic design for a community center, for a Jewish community center,
Yeah.
aka one of the cultural Marxist, headquarters of America,
Yeah.
PH. So they do the so
Yeah, exactly. You're part of the conspiracy now.
yes,
You're
I've been part of the conspiracy for some time now.
Yeah.
Right. And now I'm back. I'm working with the globalists.
I love these like not even subtle code words that anti-Semites come up with so they don't have to say Jew all the time.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
globalists. Oh, who are they?
Yeah,
Hmm.
oh, I wonder who they are. And then when they mention them, like, oh yeah, like Mark Zuckerberg and somebody who either has the last name of, like Rothstein and
Yeah.
Weinstein and Sandberg or somethingberg, and it's like, wow, all these people sort of have something in common. I can't put my finger on it. Let's
Yeah.
ask Mouthy Buddha what it is.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. It's not that they're all Irish, I'll say that. It's something else.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, so I mean it's been a while since we talked on the air and last time we had a really good chat and we've, talked in other ways since then. And so much has been happening lately in the atheist community and also in the world in general.
yeah.
That has been a lot of it's been pretty depressing and pretty like
I mean, like
infuriating.
every other day, like I can't even say every other day because it feels like every day
Yeah.
almost something comes out. And then the next day is, something else comes out and it's like a bit worse than what came out the day before or like the other day. It's what
Yeah.
a time to be alive. Yes.
It's funny. I talked to my dad yesterday and he and I hadn't talked for a while and he was like, so, he was like, so how you doing? And we caught up and then he said, so you keeping up with the news? And I was like, ah,
Why'd you
and
why'd you do this to me, Dad?
yeah. And I said, yeah. And then, and I said something and I realized after I said it, like, well, this is really how bad things have gotten because neither one of us said the word Trump or said we were talking about the Trump stuff. But I said, well, hopefully at least a few people might be going to jail. And I thought, so that's how bad things are.
Yeah, exactly. Like, keeping all my fingers crossed that maybe 2 to 3 people
Exactly.
might could go to jail.
That's as far as I'm allowing myself to hope at this point.
Yeah.
I'm not going any more than that. If anything
Yeah.
other than a couple people going to jail happens, then I'll have a nice surprise.
Exactly. Just like with the whole impeach Trump thing.
Yeah.
If that happens, I will be like, oh, okay, so that actually happened. That's
Yeah.
that's nice.
Just although I shudder to think what he would have to do that he hasn't done already, like to get people
Yeah,
to get behind that. It's like, okay, so you're not on board with the impeachment thing at this point,
yeah.
but uh,
It, what would
what's he
he
going
have
to
to
do?
do? Would he literally have to shoot somebody in the middle of Times Square? Will that actually have to happen?
Well, and it's like what people when people still make excuses for him, that well, he didn't, he's not really a sexist and he's not really a racist, and they do the same things that like when people on YouTube try to hide their racism and their sexism, and they say, well, I've never heard so and so say anything racist, and what they mean is they've never heard him drop the N word.
Right,
Therefore,
exactly. Like
that's the only racist thing.
and then even when someone actually drops it, then everyone wants to parse over the content, the context in which it was said, which Granted, I am all for, you know, having nuanced conversations and everything like that. But then even when you find out the context of it, people still try to rationalize it and justify it, like with the PewDiePie thing.
Yeah.
And you know, I listened to it, and having been a part of like gaming culture for the longest time, not necessarily online, mostly arcades.
Mhm.
Trust me, you play fighting games for long enough time, you're gonna let a lot of expletives and a lot of bad things come out your mouth. It's it's just gonna happen because it is part of the culture. The
Yeah.
culture is so, you know, the atmosphere, it really is like a sausage fest. So you're gonna have people there, you know, that competitive thing. And so you're gonna have performative masculinity going on. You're gonna have
Right.
people like, you know, trying to, you know, players trying to prove themselves that they aren't punks and that they can beat anybody and things like that. So I've heard a lot of problematic things said, but no one can tell me that when PewDiePie let nigger come out of his mouth, that it was not in a way in, you know, in that like that motherfucker says that on the regular
Yeah.
around other people, around people who don't check him on
Right. Exactly.
that shit rolled out his mouth like butter. Sorry. Like, we're, you know, and a bunch, you know, and people, other, you know, like some white folks are like, oh, well, you know, it's the art, you know, it's the culture of playing online and blah, 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 blah. Trust me, a lot of us know. A lot of us
Right.
have played online, and we have heard other white people online being racist as fuck and just letting all those words come out their mouth as plain as day. So yeah, it's not just trying to be, you know, racist just to be an asshole, aka ironic racism, which
Right.
but or hipster racism, because you
Yeah.
know everything that has hipster next to it means that it's, you know, it's ironic or whatever and not to be taken seriously. And it's like, nah, you guys don't get to, you don't get to, you know, get away with it just because you think it's ironic or
Yeah.
whatever.
Or or not even some people, the irony thing gets thrown out a lot, right? By people who don't seem to get what irony actually means.
Yeah, or satire.
Or satire. Yeah, they think that both of those terms mean that you were just kidding, and that's it. Like,
Yeah, and it's like you guys don't know what irony or satire are.
right. These are specific terms that have a
Yeah,
well established.
yeah, these are specific terms that mean things.
Yeah.
Like I think one could sort of call things like, yes, there are comedy skits that engage in satire,
Mm.
but satire is not always comedy.
Exactly. Exactly.
You know, plenty of movies have been made that have like in dramas that have some satirical elements in them. So it's not like, you know, just it's not a comedy thing. It's not just a comedy thing. So, and the thing about that, yes, comedy is subjective at most times, but like too many people just don't know what that word is either. You know, and you know, I really think that once Chappelle Show, once those first two seasons were over and done with, um, it definitely it definitely left a void
Mm.
of comedy that has satire and that has political commentary in it. It really left a void. So folks tried to get the next best thing, and the next best thing was just um being an asshole just cuz.
Yeah.
Like as if that's funny, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna say like the most sexist thing or whatever, or I'm gonna just say the most, you know, racial you know, all these bad racial stereotypes or whatever, and it's gonna be comedy and people are gonna laugh, ha 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 ha. And it's just like, no, that doesn't work. It actually has to be funny. Black comedian like
Yeah.
Dave Chappelle and Chris Rock, they say a lot of shit that is stereotypically funny. That's a lot of things that are like a bunch of racial stereotypes. Black people, white people, anybody. But there's actual talent, there's actual comedy, there's actual satire, there's actual commentary. Things are being said. And they're also smart enough to look back on things that they've done prior
Right.
and be like, I kind of, I'm not so sure I should have said this stuff because not everything is, necessarily for mass consumption.
Yeah. I re
Like when Chris Rock says that a lot in regards to, I think it was from one of his first specials, Bring the Noise, when he made the skit about black people versus niggers.
yeah, I was just
I
thinking
love
of that.
black people. I hate niggers.
Yeah.
Now, we all know that is definitely an internal problem with us as a group, but that is not something he was definitely speaking to something that black people as a group have internalized, and that it's something that we've internalized from society and things like that. And since Chris Rock put a face and a name, sort of put a name to that, other people, non-black folks, sort of thought that it was okay to sort of grab onto that and be like, yeah, I have plenty of friends who are black people, and it's the niggas that I don't like. And it's like, whoa, first of all, where the fuck did you hear that?
Right.
um what black person are you friends with who allows you to just drop the n-bomb, to just drop that word, whether it's soft a, whether it's soft
Yeah.
as, or hard ers? And where do they give me their address so that I can take some people and we can just fuck their shit up? Because there are things that are relative to certain cultures that kind of belong,
Yeah.
that kind of should stay within those cultures. It's really not for mass consumption, like the word nappy.
Yeah.
So it's like, and the thing is that these days, because these days if you tell a white person that they can't say something or they shouldn't say something, they get different, like, oh my God, well, what do you mean? How dare you try to police my
Yeah,
speech and
exactly.
yada yada yada. And it's like, whoa, first of all, why do you want to say these words? And what is, like, just the freedom to be able to say it. And it's like, I'm just giving you a suggestion. I suggest you not say it.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can, whether or not I say you shouldn't or you can't, you can still say it. I'm not wearing a black robe and I don't, sit on the Supreme Court. I can't make you not say something. Sorry about double negatives, but I can't stop you from saying these words. I also can't stop what may happen next if you are in a certain place around certain people who, look like me, and you decide that you're a little too familiar, as we
Yeah.
as we as we darkies say. aka
Yeah.
aka pretending as if you really know us like that,
Right.
and you don't.
Right.
So I can't commit that someone may or may not may not want to put hands on you. I can't, you know what I mean, or cuss you out or bring you to the side and just be like, hey man, that wasn't cool or whatever. And it's definitely been like, it's definitely been an interesting time. I tell you that it's definitely been an interesting time, especially on YouTube, for folks to see like how much more offensive and how much more disrespectful they can be. And there's a chance that we may be at the advent of that, especially with the whole adpocalypse thing that's been
Yeah.
going on. But at the same time, since we know that there's people can dog whistle till the cows come home, and, you know, still be, and still, you know, still get that ad revenue for whatever, and people can still spread toxic and, you know, false and misinformation and disinformation, and they can still, you know, get bucks for it. Not as much, but if they
Yeah.
tailor it right, if they say, if they use the right, if they use the right code words, they can still get away with it. Like that's, and that's pretty much why a lot of these folks like, you know, like Gavin McInnes and, you know, Lawrence Southern and who else? These are just words, these are just names. And I've either watched, I've either come across a couple of their videos, or have seen them debate other people, or have seen tweets that they have that are just disgusting. Tara McCarthy,
Oh yeah.
um, Roaming Millennial,
Mhm.
of course, white nationalist Barbie, aka Tommy Lauren. Um, you know,
Well,
it's just the shitlords who are complaining more because I guess they want to, you know, which I'm all here for everyone, you know, sort of being their best selves or their worst selves, you know, aka just showing what you are for people to see and just letting that be that. But yeah,
well,
it's kind of an
it
interesting time now.
it feels like, at least to me, it feels like the trend for over the last, really, I guess about the last 10 years, I would say probably uh, since the 2008 election,
Mm-hmm.
when Obama was elected the first time,
Oh,
that was when the racists sort of started to pull the knives out, and they were like, okay, we're not holding back anymore. And because I remember, you know, there have always, white supremacy has always been a very visible part of our popular culture, and there's
yeah,
always been like a right-wing media that has been even more visible about in that respect than the rest of it.
yeah,
And but like you said, a lot, it was mostly just dog whistles and indirect stuff. You know, there were like a person like Rush Limbaugh,
yeah,
who rarely would say overtly racist things, but would support things, would support positions and policies that were detrimental to black communities, and you generally, you knew what side he was on,
yeah, exactly.
and you knew that he didn't really like, if people tried to talk about racism or you know, systemic discrimination, like you knew he really didn't take that seriously and didn't think that was
Exactly.
a thing. But then after Obama was elected, it seems like the people, like some of the people you were mentioning and other people, started just being more and more blatantly racist, but they still wanted us to act like they weren't being, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like they
And it's,
didn't.
yeah, and they still do. And
Yeah.
it's because, you know, a lot of things, because a lot of the things that they say without like blinking an eye, they take as they take as bio truth, because, you know, these are the things that they pick up as they go along, as they come up, as they grow up, as they go about their lives and everything. These are, you know, you listen to what folks like these say and you realize that, like, it's not as if these ideas just came out of a vacuum. These ideas have had centuries to be
Yeah.
perpetuated. And, you know, it pretty much proves Bill Maher wrong. When, remember when he used to say, like, oh, all we have to do is just wait for the old racists to die and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And it's like, well, who the fuck do you think they're passing those ideals on to? Like, you know, they're passing them on to like their children and their grandchildren and, you know,
Yeah.
great grandchildren. And it's not like folks are, you know, for the most part ignoring that shit. Like, look at, you know, look at Charleston, you know, look at,
Yeah.
you know, what we just realized with Charleston. Like, those most of those guys um were university students at the Tiki Torch thing.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's dying out with like the old, as the old guard of the Ku Klux Klan die out or whatever, that, you know, that white supremacy is just like dying out. Like, it's not. And neither will anti-blackness, especially as long as folks, you know, continue to try to push, you know, this narrative that we are now a post-racial meritocracy when we're
Yeah.
not. And we never
Yeah.
have been. And, I don't think we ever will be, in my lifetime or yours. But,
Yeah.
the more, and it really just seems like, now more than ever, people are just really trying to push that. And it's like, and that's pretty much the main thing keeps that just keeps us as a society, as a culture, from going forward. It's like, it may be a cliche for me to say this because I'm a feminist, but I really think more people need to read Audre Lorde and like read her essays about the use of anger, and read what she has to say when it comes to like things like white guilt and stuff like
Yeah.
that. you know and it's a really amazing time for me right now to see like where we are as far as social science denialism and things like that, unless it's economics, because economics counts as a social science, but folks swear up and down by it because there's the free market.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
The free market is the free market, and and biology is everyone's god now. That's the
Yeah,
god. Those are
definitely.
the gods of the YouTube of the skeptics that we have now, the so-called skeptics that we have now. Those are their gods: biology and economics, aka the free market.
Yeah.
Because then that's when we get bullshit like evolutionary evo psych and shit like that.
Yeah.
Those are their gods.
I have a
And dogma, like
yeah.
dogmatic thinking. Those are their things. They just, whether, because I'm not sure if all of them are atheists or not or whatever, but the ones that are, they just, did away with, Abrahamic gods and all, and then other types of deities, and they put natural sciences, evil psych, and economics, the free market, and
Yeah.
it's in the place of worshiping a deity.
Their
So,
their understanding of natural science too,
yeah,
which is not
exactly. Which is,
exactly.
it's like, you can't remember, past fourth grade biology. So, so you really have no place in any conversation, like, regarding, trans issues when it comes to
Yeah.
when it comes to like sex and gender and things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's like when
Even
people.
even folks who want to call themselves like sex educators. It's really amazing how certain sex educators get in their feelings when the information that they use to educate folks is updated.
Yeah.
And I thought that, for all these folks who swear by, the hard sciences, um, isn't that how science works? When new things are discovered, information is updated to keep up with, to make sure that everyone is current on what on knowledge and things like that. And it's like, wow, it's so interesting to see sex educators have a problem with having to update their curriculum to to be more inclusive and to actually be a better sex educator. It's
Yeah.
just it's
And
it's
to
weird.
reflect,
It's weird how that happened.
and not only be a better, more inclusive, but to reflect the current state of the art of the science. I mean,
Exactly.
that's the thing about the gender identity thing that blows my mind, is when people will argue, when people who are arguing, well, gender is a lot more complicated than we thought it was, and gender identity is a much more complex subject, and it's not as simple as, well, boys have these and girls have those. It's, there's a lot more going on, and someone will try to counter that by saying, well, but my biology textbook. And it's like, but that's not an argument. just
Exactly.
saying
That's yeah.
saying
That's not an argument. Like that textbook was put together by a, I guess, by a group, or a group of folks at a certain time.
right.
Especially if you look for the year that that biology textbook that you swear by was published. And also, don't forget that textbooks do get updated after some time. So it's like,
Yeah.
deal with it.
You
Sometimes,
know,
and certain ones get updated, and it's not always a good thing, as we see with, U.S. history textbooks being updated to
yeah.
call slaves, you know, slaves who were brought over here during the Third Passage, workers.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
to, make white folks not feel so bad that our history is so fucked up.
Yeah, they were just
Yeah,
immigrants.
they were just immigrants who, white man said that there was a party going on in a boat and that they can make a better life for themselves afterwards. And they came and just like, yes, I will do all this work. I will pick your cotton. I will plant your cotton. I will work in your sugarcane factories and risk life and limb. And a lot of lives and a lot of limbs were lost in sugarcane caning places in South America at the time. That's why the slave trade lasted longer there, because they kept losing people, because people kept losing limbs and being killed and not living past between 21 and 25. So
Mm,
they had to go over to Africa and take more people against their will.
yeah. It was
Meanwhile, for us in the States, like they didn't have to keep taking people from the continent anymore. They just made the folks that they had over there already, he just made them into, not just, slaves, or, workers, excuse me.
yes, use the proper term, please.
Not just workers, but, broodmares.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, there are so many people who talk about, even now, even, I mean, Christ, Roots was 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Like it's not, and Uncle Tom's Cabin was, 150 years ago. Like even clueless white people who barely pay attention have had more than enough opportunities to be exposed, even in a really, really watered down way, to how awful slavery was. And you still have people like, just the other day, John Kelly, the chief of staff of the White House, was trying to say, like, well, the Civil War, that was a result of they weren't able to compromise.
Yeah, and it's like, oh wow, I guess it's too bad they weren't able to compromise over keeping a certain
Yeah.
group of people as property.
Well, and
Too
I
bad
saw
about that. And it's just like, and like I said, it like things like that, when things like that, and what we see in the Skeptiverse on YouTube,
yeah
those are like microcosms of showing of what the larger picture is. And the thing is that we live in a society that is just dead set on being in denial about our history. Either just being in total denial of this country's history, or hell bent on on whitewashing it,
yeah
on on making it, what's the word for it, I guess it's what on on whitewashing it, and not making it seem as noxious and
yeah
as reprehensible as it really was. And that this reprehensible thing that happened in our country for some time, for a good long time, had consequences that still reverberate to this day. That 40 to 50 years of civil rights, legislation and things like that cannot undo. It
no
hasn't, and it hasn't really undone it. Redlining still happens.
yep
Neighborhoods are still segregated heavily by class and by race. It just, resources are given more to certain groups of people than other groups of people. And, when you're dealing with folks who, you know, who are not only in denial about that, even when you throw hard statistics and even when you throw numbers in their face about it, you can only imagine what they think on like the social and cultural level. So, you know, you can't even begin to wrap your head around, you know, the efficacy of engaging with folks like that.
Yeah.
And like I think I happened to like come upon something that was happening on Twitter involving ContraPoints. Apparently,
Yeah. Yesterday.
yesterday she
Yeah.
was being interviewed. I guess she was interviewed or profiled by someone by the name of Jesse Singal.
Yeah. In New
Jesse
York Magazine. Yeah.
of who?
In New York Magazine.
Oh, okay. And
Yeah.
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm thinking that, based on um one of someone who follows me was sort of critiquing her for it. So I'm guessing that this person, Jesse Singal, I'm guessing this person doesn't really have the best reputation in regards to trans issues.
Right. Yeah.
So okay, so
Yeah.
it's definitely a double-edged sword because I mean, hey, New York Magazine, that's pretty significant. That's pretty heavy. At the same time, um, as a person from a marginalized group, I can understand how some folks would really feel off about that. I guess it would almost be like if, let's say, if Janet Mock agreed to sit down with that person, or if like Ava DuVernay agreed to sit down with like Sargon. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
You know what I mean? So
you're getting at something that I was thinking about might be an interesting thing to talk with you about, because I've been thinking about it for the last couple of days too, because of the ContraPoints thing, and because she's someone who is willing to engage with people on the other side, so to speak, from time to time. And I think last week Eli Bosnick went on a live stream with Sargon, and Eli's, he's done live streams with other fucking awful people too, like
yeah,
Bearing.
I remember he and
Yeah.
Smith were on a live stream with the mythicists, with the
Yeah.
Mythicon guys,
Yeah.
which, oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't live tweet all of it because I really wanted to listen, but and not to get off from the topic that you want to bring up,
No,
but
go for it.
like I had to stop it at a point when Thomas and Eli were really coming for the guys about having Sargon on there. And one of the guys on there said, absolutely, Sargon is an intellectual. I was sitting at my desk at work.
Yes.
And I heard that. I was like, I had to stop. I pressed pause. I sat there at my desk. I thought about it for a second. I was like, I didn't just hear that. And I was like, yep, I did. And then I went, switched the tab to TweetDeck, and I tweeted. I was like, wait a minute. I'm listening to this. I linked it and everything. I was like, okay, so I'm listening to this conversation between these two guys and the organizers for Mythicist Milwaukee. And this dude just said that Sargon is an intellectual.
Yeah.
And I was just like, bitch, where? How? Like, what? Someone who can't be bothered to even like read his own sources, like someone as just like intellectually dishonest and lazy is an intellectual.
Yeah. Well,
Like, are you kidding me?
It's like it's like if someone once asked a question like, do you ever wonder like what we're doing here, why any of this even exists? And then they immediately start demanding to be addressed as a philosopher.
Yeah,
It's like, oh no, you asked one kind of deep question. That doesn't make you a philosopher, okay? Yeah, it's not
exactly.
what you do.
Yeah, that was one good question, and I
Yeah,
give you, I give you all the
yeah,
props for it. But like,
yeah,
I'm not addressing you like you're Nietzsche now for
yeah.
that.
Exactly. You're not. It's not quite to that point yet.
Yeah,
You still have some work to do.
you're not Aristotle or Plato or Kant. Like,
Or
stay in your lane. Like
my
that's
or my favorite my favorite philosopher to reference when Sargon is the subject is Plutarch, because of course he had a quote from Plutarch on his Twitter bio for like for a while it seemed like, and then at one point before he got banned, when he started getting sanctioned by Twitter for being such an asshole,
mhm.
the Plutarch quote was replaced by "fuck Twitter." So you can see how committed he is to his intellectual roots. Gets
Yeah,
rid of the pretentious Plutarch quote and replaces it with "fuck Twitter."
yeah,
But I wanted to ask you about the the value of engaging with people like that, and what the best way of going about it tactically is, because I've seen really, really good, smart, awesome people who I love, like Eli and like ContraPoints and a lot of other people,
yeah.
go into the lion's den, so to speak, and engage with people like Sargon. And sometimes they do really well, and sometimes they don't. But it never really seems to help anything. It doesn't really make a difference. And I don't think that I'm not someone who says you can't engage with them at all. I'm not someone who says like it's a mistake to engage with them, period. Because I think obviously when you look at things like Charlottesville, and then you look at the white supremacist marches that have been planned since then, that
Mhm,
have been drowned out and shut down by protesters showing up in much larger numbers,
mhm,
so that the Nazis are like, okay, never mind. There's like 100 of them and there's 10,000 protesters. And they're like, okay, maybe this was a bad idea.
mhm,
Like that to me is a good form of engagement. They didn't, nobody stayed home. They didn't ignore them. They said, let's go show these guys, where they are, whose town this is. And they made a show of force and outnumbered them. And the Nazis, went away. Um, so I don't think that you can just ignore people like that. I don't think that's
mhm.
healthy, because then that just gives them room to operate. But at
Right.
the same time, I don't think it's good. I don't think I think it's almost never productive to just sit down with them and have a conversation. I think that plays into their hands more often than not. But I wonder what you think about that.
I agree with you. And this is from someone who thought at one point it would be a good idea to engage with folks on the other side. The
Right.
the thing with that is that even though I may not engage via live stream or anything that much, but I'm on Twitter a lot,
Right.
just because of like the ease for me to just start talking about things that I care about. And also it's where I connect with the most people. It's how I can even stay up to date with things that are going on. So I don't always have to like go to like a news channel or a news website or anything like that. Most times the information is flooding into my timeline. And also thanks to the people I follow, most folks like to be kept up to date with, not just pop culture things and nerdy things and, social justice type issues. They also like to, try to be as aware as possible on things that are going on
Right.
locally, nationally, internationally, and stuff like that. So I enjoy my time on Twitter. The times that I don't enjoy is being dogpiled by certain types of folks, and seeing people that I'm cool with being dogpiled or
Yeah.
dealing with someone who does not care to listen or who just does not give a fuck, and pretty much takes advantage of being of the whole, I'm at my keyboard and I could just pop off however the fuck I want. Things like, or my
Yeah.
keyboard or my phone or my tablet, whatever. So, and it's known that like if you're a woman, especially if you are a black woman or any other woman of color, that the dogpiling and the abuse that you get is multiplied.
Yeah.
And the thing of it's multiplied, and what makes it suck so hard is also that we're least likely to be listened to when we let it be known that people target, and that's why people target us, because society is taught to not listen to women. Society is definitely taught to not give a fuck about or listen to black women. So, so there's that. So, um, from my experiences in interacting with folks who disagree with me every day for the past, I've been on Twitter since 2010. So about a good 6, 7 years of
Yeah.
interacting with folks who don't agree with me on a lot of things. Um, when you're dealing with folks who, especially on, let's take it to YouTube now.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with folks who have established what type of content creator that they are, they've established that when it comes to debate, they handle it as, conservatives and people on the right handle it. It's not about getting to the truth. It's about having attention on you. It's about having eyes on you, and as many eyes on you and as many ears listening to you as possible. It's not about getting to any sort of truth. It's about owning the other person and making the person that you're talking to, your opponent, seem weak. It's about ponage. Nobody wants to come to some sort of concession or anything like that. And there's another thing on top of that. Another thing on top of that, and that is how folks want their opinions, the things that they have been taught and have believed for the longest time as bio-truths. They want them to be taken as facts, even when the facts fly in the face of their opinions.
Yeah.
And it's like it's a game for most people on YouTube, especially in the skeptosphere. And also people, like, let's say if you wanted to, like, even if it's just a debate with someone, like, say, the channel Destiny, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not sub to him, but I tend to check out his channel from time to time because he pretty much talks to everybody. He used to be a hard right winger, and now he's more of a centrist liberal. He's more like in the center now. Um, but he'll debate like pretty much anybody. He
Yeah.
debated Sargon. He debated Bunty King. Damn it.
Hmm.
He
Yeah.
debated Bunty King. He debated Andy Worski. He debated, no bullshit. Um, Lawrence Southern on immigration. So he's definitely the type to talk to these folks and things like that, and maybe for some people it serves, or people like him, it serves as showing how big of imbeciles these folks are.
Yeah.
But for folks who are more concerned about stamping out toxic ideas and perspectives, um, it doesn't really do much good, because, like I said, folks who are concerned about truth don't go into debates as if it's just a spectacle.
Right.
And the thing is that way too many, way too many skeptards do.
Yeah.
They don't really have, they really have nothing in it to lose, but, you know, some sort of cred as owning, you know, owning the evil juice feminist feminazis or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, because they could turn off their computer and half of the things that they bitch about, you know, us caring about, they don't give a shit about. That's why they stay, you know, most of the time they stick to sort of like culture war-esque things, along with some, you know, acceptable bigotry, you know, towards Muslims and, you know, Islam and things like that. You know, you don't see them tackling issues like, you know, like Betsy DeVos going after Title IX, or Ben Carson making all of these cuts to HUD, or, you know, or Jeff Sessions adding that dumbass memorandum to, you know, the religious liberty law or something like that, to the point of where they actually want to do away with the Johnson Amendment, which prohibits religious organizations from being involved politically and things like that.
Right.
Because you know, basically, at the Johnson statement, the Johnson Amendment is basically like, okay, if you guys get involved in politics, then we'll revoke your tax exempt status.
Right. Exactly.
And basically we have imbeciles in our government who are pretty much trying to make it so that religious liberty, you know, American Christianity as it stands, which is, you know, pretty much white nationalism and Christian, you know, dominionism, they pretty much want to take the country to that. They want and make it, you know, it may be hyperbole to say that these folks want this country to be a theocracy, but I don't think it's that far from what they want.
No,
they want to do it on a state level, and they want to be able to do it on a state level, and then, you know, make sure and take it to a federal level. You know, things like that. Like, women still have to fight for reproductive care. Our reproductive rights are being chipped away and taken from us. You don't see them talking about that. You see them belly aching about how feminist is cancer and all this other bullshit. And it's like, you know, when it comes to, you know, the efficacy of engaging with folks like that, it's basically like you're asking people who have spent their lives, you know, doing the work, doing the praxis, you know, like me. Like, I didn't, you know, study anything about feminism when I was in college and things like that. What ended up happening is I ended up following the right people who put me onto the right literature, and I picked it up on my own. And this took a while. It took like maybe a year or so. And I still have other things to read and finish reading. You know what I mean? So you're asking someone like me who goes out of their way to educate themselves on things so that I know what the fuck I'm talking about. You're asking me to engage with someone who not only hasn't done that, but is unwilling to do that. So you're basically asking, you know, two people to show up to a gunfight, and I'm the one carrying guns, and they're carrying like butter knives and shit. Like, and not only that, the people holding the butter knives are acting as if like we better take their position, we better take their shit in good faith and treat it as valid. And it's like Bill Nye debating, you know, Ken Ham. That's pretty much what the fuck is happening. Like, you expect someone who has spent their entire life in science to take this asshole who pretty much takes advantage of the fact that Indiana, that, you know, that their legislature is mostly Republican, and, you know, and freaking, like, you know, Christian freaks. So of course they'll fucking give him permission to put in they'll give him, you know, state money to create to put a creationist museum in their state. Meanwhile, it didn't even bring the amount of jobs that they said it was supposed to bring.
No,
so that's why it didn't really help unemployment in that state. But that's another issue for another time. But But yeah, no, I don't, there's really no validity in engaging with these folks because of the things, because of what I stated earlier. There's the people who you're engaging, they have no incentive to be informed on the things that they are complaining about. Not only that, it's in their best interests not to be, in order to keep the following that they have, and keep Patreon money flowing in, and keep sub numbers going up, because it's really nothing to come in and to come to YouTube and start a channel and pander to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Like, if I had decided to come on YouTube and pretend to be like, like that black chick, Candace, the black chick who took the red pill.
Yeah.
If I decided to do that and to make that an act just to get money, I probably would have been in, and I started getting more active on YouTube like maybe 2 years ago. If I had started on That's It 2 years ago, I would probably be out of student loan debt by now, because it's a cash industry, especially, like I said, depending on how you phrase your things, because you can talk and dog whistle and still be able to, catch ad revenue. Because it's a funny thing, but YouTube is the place where a lot of like people on the right, whether it's far right or just conservative or whatever, they could come here, they can, pander to the lowest common denominator, they can spew white identity, white supremacist identity politics and shit like that. And they could get and they can gather such a big following, especially because they think that, that the media, that mainstream media is, run by the liberal media, and, and the Jew, I mean, the globalists.
The globalists, exactly.
The globalists control all the media that we consume and stuff like that. So YouTube is our only, refuge to be able to get the truth out there to people. And sorry, that's my one and only Alex Jones.
You went Alex Jones on me.
Sorry, we're winning, because we gotta be careful about the right wing media and all these rallies, because Soros is planning all of this, and this is and remember, folks, this is live and unscripted. I'm telling you, you can always get the truth from us. I'm sorry, that's my
Sometimes I wonder if when Alex Jones just watches regular TV, if he suspects that it's not really the show, like he's watching like an episode of CSI or something, and he's like, I don't think that was really the real CSI episode, because like he thinks that about everything else. They showed me this fake CSI episode. I don't know what they're trying to pull. They're up to something.
Liberal media is trying to make it seem like, that these CSI folks are really into doing their job, and that they really love that they actually like the government, when they're really in support of the globalists and the deep state. Sorry, deep state for leftists who are like way too far to the left.
There's a part of me that actually, I mean, I was going to say there's a part of me that can't wait to watch like the meltdowns that they're going to have when the Black Panther movie opens. But I wonder if, I mean, I haven't, but see, I haven't.
It's gonna be amazing. Like it's gonna be so blackety black. Like I'm gonna go, because since I live in New York, right? So yeah. I'm gonna go to Harlem. I'm not even gonna take the train. I'm gonna find the biggest panther or black cougar or something. I'm gonna ride to the Magic Johnson Theater on the top of a black panther. I'm gonna make sure my afro's out to here. I'm gonna have.
That's awesome.
I'm gonna have even the pick. There's the black pick that has the black fist on it. I'm gonna have that stuffed in my big ass afro, and I'm gonna have Newports on me. Doesn't matter. I don't smoke. It doesn't matter. Newports on me. And
that's awesome.
A bag full of Colt 45 and Popeyes, and we're just gonna paint the town red when Black Panther comes out. I can't wait.
Just Pam Grier that shit.
Exactly. Call me Foxy Brown.
But as I was thinking about that question, I realized, unless I've just missed it, they haven't the usual suspects. You know, the same guys that threw a hissy fit about a black guy being in Star Wars or women being in Ghostbusters. Like they haven't been throwing as much of a fit about Black Panther, and I think maybe part of that is because they feel like that's just not for them. They don't feel like black people are ruining something that belongs to them. You
Oh,
know,
I have seen some pushback, and it's
yeah,
definitely it's because of, white comic bros have been pissed because of the lack of white people in that movie, and it's kind of like,
okay.
okay,
Black people can't have anything.
yeah, exactly.
You can't have anything.
Yeah, like we can't even have a fictionalized black nation that is more advanced than any other country and continent in the world. We can't even have
Yeah.
that, and it's fictionalized. Like, okay.
Yeah, if they ever go ahead and if Chris Evans ever decides to hang it up and they replace Captain America with the Black Captain America, then that's when the shit's
Sam
gonna hit the
Wilson.
fan.
Oh, they will
If they put Sam Wilson Captain America on the big screen,
they will have a shit fit, and I will love it. And I'm sure especially if the Russo brothers are behind it, the Russo brothers will have a laugh. They will have
yeah,
fun putting that script together. I guarantee it.
yeah,
And it's
though,
funny. If it's funny to me how certain. It's funny to me how white comic bros think that Marvel went like all SJW and shit like that, and
yeah,
it's like they're a business. I like my Marvel comics. I like certain ones that I get from them,
yeah,
but at the end of the day, they're a business. And trust me, as the majority, they are really not that woke. Yeah,
yeah,
they got Ta-Nehisi Coates
coats,
for Black Panther. Um G. Willow Wilson for Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel's been doing good and everything like that. Um, if they think Marvel went SJW just because Captain America was black for some time,
yeah,
like what the fuck did they make a Secret Empire where they had fucking Steve Wilson, um, excuse me, Steve Rogers
yeah,
was a fucking Nazi. Oh,
right,
oh, I did not say Nazi because Hydra isn't,
Hydra,
Hydra wasn't the Nazis. They just worked with the Nazis. So that makes
yeah.
everything better. Like, okay, Steve Rogers wasn't a Nazi. He was just a fascist
Yeah,
motherfucker.
he was the fake Nazis we made up,
Yeah,
so we didn't have to have Nazis in our
he
comic
was
book.
just the ironic Nazi that had his Hydra ships, um, kill what's this guy that killed this guy who he was Rick Jones, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, just had him. He was just the ironic Nazi that executed Rick Jones and basically reduced Las Vegas to ash by bombing them. And, had Black Widow killed via breaking her neck. And so
yeah,
she's gone. And yeah, and basically would have just beat everybody to hell if Nick Spencer didn't, have Kobik as the Deus Ex Machina, that he said he wouldn't do
yeah, yeah,
when he first started Secret Empire, but they fucking did it anyway. I fucking knew they were gonna do it. Just fucking Deus Ex Machina the whole thing with having Kobik somehow bring back another version of Steve Rogers, or the real Steve Rogers, or
yeah,
the heart and soul of Steve Rogers. I don't know. I just saw the panel and I was just like, I'm glad I didn't spend money on
yeah.
this shit.
Well, but I mean, that's you knew. I think everybody knew that was going to
There
happen.
was no, I think it would have been braver if they would have kicked Nazi Steve's ass and just kept
Yeah,
going with it. But
yeah,
Marvel don't want to, and it's weird. And again, it's weird that comic bros think that Marvel is so SJW now, but they have a fascist Captain America.
yeah,
They had a fascist Steve Rogers for a while. So I know that fucking neo-Nazi fans of Steve Rogers were happy because they've been fans of Steve Rogers for the longest. And that was before the drawing of, you know, Nazi cap with, you
Yeah.
know, Thor's hammer and shit, and him actually being able to lift it up, you
Yeah.
know. So
Well, it's like, I mean,
all these cries of, you know, Marvel SJW is a sham. But anyway,
well, yeah, they,
I feel like I'm sorry. I feel like that we sort of got off topic from the validity of engaging with the other side, because I actually
yeah.
had something. I
Yeah.
had something that I wanted to add to that, and it sort of kind of goes back to the ContraPoints thing.
Okay, go for it.
So I saw her sort of between yesterday and today. I saw her complaining. Well, not complaining, but tweeting about. At first, I hadn't known about the situation until tonight,
Mhm.
but she was sort of tweeting on about how letting folks know that she's not changing how she goes about engaging people on the other side. She was like, if you don't like it, just unfollow me, whatever, whatever.
Right.
I definitely understand that. The way that she started off her thread was kind of like, I was like, because
Mhm.
it was mostly the sentiment um of sort of criticizing the left for not engaging with the other side and as much, and thinking that, you know, thinking that that was pretty much going to be like the boon of, you know, us getting ideas out there or whatever. And then on top of that, today, she had said that, you know, she was like, you know, want to know why I'm not for a violent revolution because something about envision leftist Twitter with a guillotine. And it's like, you know, she usually, I'm like, you know, some people say that Twitter is not the place for nuance. I kind of think that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know, yes, you have 180 characters. Some people have more now because the whole 280 thing
Yeah.
hasn't gone out for everyone yet. But yes, you have only 140 characters to say something. So that should, you know, that should not stop you from trying to be as nuanced as possible. And people make threads all the time. If
Yeah.
you're too lazy to read a Twitter thread, like I don't know what else to tell you. But those things that she said kind of stuck out to me as I'm going to say the P word, and it's privileged.
Mm.
You know, when it comes to sort of engaging with the other side, I think it's kind of a privileged mindset for some folks, white folks,
Mhm.
to sort of pontiff to, you know, if you want to do it, that's fine. If you swear by it or whatever, just to exchange ideas or whatever, that's fine. But to sort of pontificate on it and then sort of harp on it and harp on it and harp on it, um, you know, it starts to come off as you know, you sort of run the risk of becoming like an insufferable centrist. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also nuance goes out the window because number one, yes, yes, you are a trans woman, so that's something. But you're a white trans woman who just got a feature interview in New York Magazine.
Right.
A black trans woman would have had to have had more things under her belt, plus and you know, and also they would have had to do so much more to be able to even get like maybe an eighth of that recognition or an eighth of that opportunity
Right.
that Contra got. You know what I mean? So keep that in mind. And not every group is in a position to do that safely. And and in a way, it also puts the onus on us to, you know, try to come to some sort of compromise to folks who operate on the idea that compromise is weak.
Right.
So they cannot compromise on anything, no matter what it is, you know, or even they'll pretend to, but then they'll still try to push their narrative through. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so, pontificating on that, like, it's not really a good look. And let's not even talk about revolution, because like I said in my quoted tweet, I said, I suggest you look up what Malcolm X said about revolution and then rethink this, because he said, and I believe it, most folks are not ready for a revolution. They are not ready for that, because and you can look at history. The majority of revolutions, not just in American history, but internationally, in history, period, revolutions have not been nonviolent.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Like, there's even if you want to talk about, what happened in India or whatever, how many years of, dehumanization and, harm to folks, even death, violence had probably happened during that time.
Yeah.
So there's really no revolution in history that was bloodless or violent. So, and I think someone of a very privileged, it's only folks of a somewhat, privileged mindset can say things like that, and, can make statements like that. And also push the narrative of, like, this is something that we have to do, otherwise our ideas can't get out there. Our
Yeah.
ideas can get out there, and they are out there. You don't have to deal with these folks to get your ideas out them. And in fact, at times, um I think it's a better idea. You don't have to talk to them. You talk around them
Exactly.
to get to whomever may be listening to them, or listening to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you can put things out there to make people think. You don't have to, you don't necessarily have to mention them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't even have to, like, really talk about them. What you do talk about and can talk about are the ideas that they have. Because let's be
Exactly.
because let's be real, none of this shit that they're saying is new. None of the shit Sargon says, that Andy Worski says, whenever he likes to, whenever, like, if he's ever in a conversation that involves, stuff about the Black community, he likes to say that 50% of Black people are committing all the crime in the US and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to talk. You don't have to talk about them.
Yeah.
You talk about their ideas aren't new, and that's also, like, another thing. Treating all ideas in good faith. Sorry, like, the idea that Black people are in a situation we're in because we're poor, that we're poor because, we're lazy, and
Yeah.
we're all single moms being on welfare, and we're more prone to doing crime, and we commit the most crime. Sorry, those are not valid ideas. Those are toxic ideas. Those are racist ideas, bigoted ideas, whites, and I'm not going to give them the time of day. I'm not under any compulsion to give folks who have those ideals the time of day. I don't have to address them. What I can do, and what I endeavor to do, is address the ideas and point out how toxic they are, because it's not just about this. And that's another thing when it comes to, Contra's point and engaging people from the other side. These are not ideas we're just dealing with.
Yeah.
And these are not just people with ideas we're dealing with. These ideas are not new. They've had centuries to be perpetuated. And as we can see, they still are being perpetuated. And the worst thing about it is that there are people who hold these ideas who are making legislation that affect
Yeah.
people about whom they have those ideas about. And they've been making legislation about people they have those ideas about. So it's so and that's the thing that I think a lot of people on both sides miss, but even on our side, on the left, who feel like, that they have some sort of moral or ethical high ground because they engage with folks on the other side.
Yeah.
There's nothing to be gained by trying to hold up as an ideal that you engage with folks who not only have harmful ideas, toxic ideas, but they enable them to be perpetuated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And especially in light of a poll that was recently done, that while many white people don't like they may not like white supremacists, and they, neo-Nazis, Ku Klux Klan, neo-Confederates, alt-right. They may not like them, but they hold the same ideas as them. And, so you may not, so people may you may want to be careful about maybe not saying, oh, Sargon is the alt-right, or you may want to be careful. You may not say that outright, that Sargon is a neo-Nazi or that he's a neo-Confederate or whatever. Of course, because he's never said it. He's never like, you don't see him talking about how, Black people are monkeys and da 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 da. Like, he hasn't, people like him and Chris Reagan and Andy Warski, they haven't gone as far as that, but they hold the same ideas as them, as, in regards to, oh, well, Black people are committing the most crime.
Exactly.
All like, 1.2 billion Muslims, they all practice Islam in a religious fundamental way, so they're all suspect to be terrorists and shit like that. Yeah. Things like that have been perpetuated in the culture, not just in America, like the Western world, for centuries. The anti-Blackness, those things, they may not be on Richard Spencer's level, but they definitely share his views in regards to certain things, especially in regards to the idea of white people being more oppressed or whatever at the moment. And, in regards to how they view Black people. Sargon had a debate with, I don't know if you know this person, Benjamin Dixon. He doesn't, oh, yeah, he's awesome. He's great, follow him on Twitter, and I try to catch his news shows whenever I can, but when I can't, I catch up with when he posts videos the next day. And I caught an excerpt from a debate that they had, and the stuff that was coming out of Sargon's mouth about trying, sort of, pushing this idea that, that Black people would be lifted out of poverty if there weren't so many like single mothers. So basically, and this idea is not new.
No, not at all.
Because it comes from a document. The ideal comes from a document called the Moynihan Report, which was put out in 1965 by a white man, Dr. I think his name is Philip Moynihan. And in that report, he basically stated that Black people aren't moving forward as much as they should, because now the women are working, and taking all the jobs from Black men, and they're also all on welfare and kicking the Black men out the home just so they can, continue to get the benefits.
Yeah.
So basically, all Black people have to do to further assimilate into white culture is to get married and stop having so many babies out of wedlock. You know what I mean? And just pushing all of this patriarchal and puritanical bullshit. And it's like, And the thing is that Richard Spencer shares that idea too. You know what I'm saying? So, and they don't, and people like Sargon don't get that that is why Richard Spencer says that people like him,
Yep.
people like Chris Reagan, people like Lawrence Southern, people like Andy Worski, they don't get why Richard Spencer says that folks like that are a good gateway into white nationalism, which is white supremacy. You know, it's
Yeah.
I tend to not say white nationalism because it is white supremacy to me, because you know it's like with white nationalism, you basically just want a state with just white folks. Now, if folks want to argue that, oh well, just because I want to live in a place where there's only white people doesn't mean that I think I'm superior to black people. If people want to argue that, good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'm saying, like, you know, you wanna, you know, it's basically just wanting to live in an ethno state with only white people. And most folks who want that are white supremacists and think and basically want the culture to stay, they want the current culture, they want the status quo to stay as it is with white, with the racial ethnic hierarchy, and that they want white people to stay on top of that and for everyone else to be at the bottom.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well,
Well,
and I
and I
mean,
mean,
it,
and so
most white.
engaging with those folks, it really does not make a difference, because like I said, they don't enter into these live streams. They don't enter into it as you would enter a debate, you know, with the idea that there is a possibility that some of the things that I think and hold to may not be true. It may be false. They don't enter into that. It's a game to them. It's a spectacle to them. So to me, it's really not a valid use of time. A better use of time is to talk around them, put your ideas out there, criticize, basically break down why their ideas are shit, which they are.
Yeah.
And I think that that's a better use of time. And you know, if someone on that side genuinely gives a shit about examining their perspective, they will reach out, or they will do the work. They won't just come to you and expect you to just lay everything on them and feel entitled to your label, and feel entitled to your labor. They will do the work. They will go watch videos. They will look up things that you've said. They will look up, you know, book recommendations, video recommendations, things like that. They will do a, a eighth of the work
Yeah.
that, say, Armored Skeptic and Shoe on Head have done. Like, oh, it was talking to feminists that I knew I wasn't anti-feminist. Oh, well, great. That's really no different from fucking, you know, TJ basically, you know, whining about how bad Tumblr feminists are and just
Yeah.
putting it out there that all feminists are like feminists on Tumblr. Like, you know, and then if you say Audre Lorde and bell hooks, they'll probably look at you like, you know, like someone stuck their foot up your ass, like, huh? So
Well, yeah. I mean,
it's like an insult. It's like, oh, well, you know, Jazz, you should engage with the other side. And I'm like who? These motherfuckers?
yeah.
Like I would rather engage with Naval Lint. You know, or get a transvaginal ultrasound or something. Something.
Name something really
Name
uncomfortable.
something very uncomfortable, or name something that is just like the most boring. I would rather watch the most saddest porn from the 1980s. And then watch paint dry,
Yeah.
watch my cat lick her ass, then fucking even fathom on like, oh well, maybe I should ask to be on Sargon's live stream so we can have an open exchange of ideas, and I can
Yeah.
understand why he thinks feminism is cancer, and he thinks that black people we'll get out of poverty if we just get married, even if we're poor, or say, um, thinks that Black Lives Matter is a racist organization.
Yeah.
And and the thing is, since these ideas are not new, you don't have to fucking talk to these people to find out why they think what they think.
No, they're
Like
not. Yeah. They're
they're
not one of a
not they're
kind.
not new if you're paying attention, if you read up on history, if you read up on these on sociological systems and shit like that. If you pay attention, if you really cared, you will understand. There's there's really no reason. There's really no reason to engage with folks like that. To rein it in and be a bit nicer, I will just say take it by case basis.
Yeah.
But with certain folks, I'm sorry, you know what the fuck you're getting into. If you decide, oh, well, maybe I'll just go and talk with Bering and see what he says. I'm sorry. For some
Yeah.
people, I feel this bad for your boy Eli, but I don't
Yeah.
feel
Well,
that.
I don't feel. Yeah. I
Like I've never thought about having like an exchange with Bering or something like that. I can just go by, there's nothing wrong with like just going by, Christy's experiences and Tim's
Yeah.
experiences, and Demotivator, like Tim
Yeah.
was pretty much the type to really engage with those folks, and he has. And same with Kevin.
Yeah.
And same with Mike Rollins.
Yeah.
And me personally, I was like, you know, I'm not a fan for going up to a huge pile of dog shit just to smell it and see if it stinks.
Exactly.
But if that's what you guys like to do, that's your prerogative. And it just took a little time after time, and getting burned by these folks. And listen, sometimes you can show folks better than you can tell them. Sometimes, like, hey, you want to go touch the stove just to see if it's hot? Do you think?
Right.
Do you like? I do you. I said what I said.
Yeah. Exactly. I told you.
And that's kind of, it's like that's, just listen to Black women, like I told them.
Yeah.
94 to 96% of us told y'all who to vote for. Y'all motherfuckers are like, no, hold my beer, bro. Like, okay.
Yeah. You know, I mean, there's another side to that too, and I don't disagree with anything you just said. I think, and I know a lot of times, like when people who we're both friends with, like Kevin Logan or Mike Rollins or Demotivator would go onto these live streams with people like Sargon or Bering. I think you and I were both sort of in the camp of going like, well, okay, if that's what you want to do, but it's a waste of fucking time. You're
Yeah.
like, what you're not gonna accomplish anything.
Like what, and what new, is there anything new you're going to gather or
Yeah,
learn about the person or from this person by going on to this stream with them or
yeah,
by talking with them?
and
Like
yeah,
like I
nothing.
said, I've watched Sargon in like 2.5 debates, and that kind of tells me everything I need to know.
Yeah,
I saw the debate with Christy Winters. I saw him debate with Michael Brooks from the
mhm.
Majority Report. Like, I'm good. Like, I'm good. You
Yeah.
know.
Well, and the other thing is there's the that aspect of it that it's just a waste of fucking time. And like you compared it to touching a hot stove. Like you don't really need to touch the stove to know that it's going to burn you.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also the fact that for if it's someone that I have a history with and that I know them and I trust them, like Eli, or like Contra, or like one of our friends that we've mentioned, like I don't necessarily worry about them. Oh, they're going over to the other side, but I still have that. What's the fucking point? Why are you doing this?
Right. Yeah.
But
I don't worry about them being like, turned to the other side or
no,
anything like that. I just, as a friend, I don't like it, or not don't like it. I worry about folks wasting their time on
yeah,
people that they're probably better off not wasting time on. That's pretty
and
much it.
and for people who don't know them as well and haven't built up a trust with them, I know that. And even sometimes when you do have that trust, when someone who is otherwise a good person, and someone that you think of as a friend, or even just someone who you think is a reasonable person, and you like to read what they write, or you like to watch their videos, and you're listening to their podcast, and you think, yeah, that's a good person, and they engage with someone like Bering or like Sargon, and pick one. They're all basically the fucking same.
Right. Yeah.
And they go on to their show, and they engage with them. What that says to me, and what that says to a lot of people who have been targeted by those people, is, oh, okay, so they're not bad enough for you to tell them to fuck off.
Yeah, and I
Like,
think I think that's a big thing that's happened with Contra.
yeah,
And that's and I think what happens is that, like, let's say you may have, because I've seen it unfold in conversations, like you may have had a really bad experience with someone, right? But the
yeah,
person that who's going to like engage in a conversation with this person who has been nothing but a shit to you,
yeah,
they haven't experienced that. Or let's say, that shit is shit to you, but to this person, they have
yeah,
been more cordial and things like that. So you'll often hear the other person say, well, I engaged with this person and they've been nothing but civil to me, or I've engaged with this person and they come off as cool to me, and it's like, because you don't know them yet. You
right,
haven't
exactly.
engaged with them enough yet, or you haven't said anything. You haven't expressed an idea that they abhor, and they're liable to go off on you yet. But the thing about it is, the thing about folks who are nice, who are otherwise overall shitty people, but they're nice to folks to try to hide that, is that they can't hide it for long.
Yeah,
It's good, like it's gonna come out sooner or later. And or even not that, it's like I'll take the shoe on head thing. I remember Mike saying, there are times when they would interact or whatever, and she was nice and this
mm,
and this and that, but then she go on Twitter and just be a total, like, oh god, I don't want to.
yeah.
Sorry, I was about to let a slur fly out,
You
and
were about to drop a bomb.
yeah, I was about to buy it. I don't want to give
Yeah,
I don't want to give anyone any more fodder than I've
yeah,
probably already given. But she was just a real jerk. Like, just
yeah,
how people just sometimes tweet shit and they just put their ignorance out on display for like everyone.
yeah, yeah,
And they act as shitlords acts. They will be assholes to people because they can, because it's just Twitter. They're just typing on a keyboard, or on their phone, or whatever, and there's no chance of them ever meeting there's no chance that there's a small chance of ever really seeing this person in real life or whatever.
yeah,
They will say all these things. They will say all these things and have all these dumb and bigoted perspectives that they will put out there, but just because they've been nice to you in interactions, then it's like, oh well, I'll still talk to them or whatever. And it's like, it's people do the most to try to separate their intent or whatever from their disposition as a person
mhm,
from the things that they say
yeah,
and things that they do. And it's like, no, bitch. Your words are the things that you say and that you hold on to as like bio truths, the things that you think are valid, true or not. When you say them and behave in a certain way, yes, those are extensions of yourself. You're not about to pull a Donald Trump or whatever, or Hulk Hogan, and be like, oh well, this is just a persona, and I'm nothing like this in real life. And
yeah. It just came out. Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I just get on YouTube and I just say things. I used to say that, but I would say that in a joking way because
Right.
most of the things I say and most of the things I tweet, like, I'm not putting on a show for anyone.
Yeah.
But but the thing is that no, you can't separate the things that people say from them being a good person and yada yada yada. Like, I don't give a shit if Sargon approached me and was like a total gentleman. Like,
Yeah.
fuck away from me.
Yeah.
Like,
Fuck you.
fuck you. There's no need for us to talk. There's nothing we could talk about that would, be meaningful. And on top of that, the ideas that you perpetuate through your channel and any other means of, communicating with the world, since you're banned from Twitter, are repugnant.
Yeah.
And you don't care. You don't care about misinforming and disinforming people. You just care about pandering to the masses. So, to keep your subs up and get money because you got kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
there's no need for me to I don't give a shit about intent. I don't give a shit about someone's
Yeah.
disposition. Because then we'll get shit like, oh, here's the dapper white nationalist
Exactly.
who's who's taking over, who's causing who's raging up a storm or something like that. And it's like, dapper Nazi, get the fuck out of here. I don't give a fuck how dapper a white nationalist is. I don't give a fuck how, oh my God, have you seen this? Have you seen this Nazi? This person who works for, the new, wizard of the Southern Wizard of the Ku Klux Klan. He looks so sharp and fresh and clean, doesn't he? No, who gives a
Fuck
fuck?
him. Yeah.
Fuck him.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, again, like if it's someone that it's, I shake my head a lot. You know what I mean? Like I usually in private, I usually don't share it with people. Sometimes I'll get like a private message from someone else who feels the same way as I do. And they've seen like the same tweet or they've seen the same Facebook status. And they're like, did you see what so-and-so just said? And I'm like, yeah, I don't fucking know. Because I, I don't, I'm still friends with people who other people think are assholes. Like I get not everybody's going to like everybody, everybody has their own different breaking points for when they would write somebody off. But, I just know for me personally, like I would much rather hear a story about someone on my side, so to speak, telling one of those people to fuck off
Yeah.
than I would hear a story about, oh, actually we got coffee and we got along. We had a pretty good conversation for 20 minutes. Like,
Yeah, I was just like, and I really think it's definitely like, I'm gonna say the P word again. So I'm gonna drive yourselves crazy. Woo! It's definitely a privileged thing
yeah,
because for certain folks to be able to do that, and mostly white folks to do it. You don't see a lot of people of color doing that unless they've sort of, put themselves as a token, like some black guy, some black dude, and
yeah,
Bunty King, because
yeah,
I was watching Destiny and him talk and stuff like that, and it was just screaming like, oh God,
yeah,
just screaming token, like, oh, I don't really think that's what he was saying, and da, 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 da. And it's like, dude, I'm sorry. I work around the globalists, and I also look things up so that I don't sound like an idiot who doesn't know what they're talking about when it comes to things like dog whistles.
yeah,
Like, you cannot say to me or any person that the Jewish question
yeah,
is
no,
not a fucking dog whistle. Like,
no.
no, 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 no. But I digress.
Everybody knows what that means, or at
Everyone
least
knows
they
what
should know. Yeah,
everyone knows what the fuck that means.
yeah,
Like, but I digress. But yeah, like we've all been in the position where like we've seen what someone has tweeted or a status on Facebook, and you're just like, I have to scroll up or scroll down just so that we remain friends. It's
exactly.
happened.
Yeah, it happens to me a
And
lot.
like, and that's the thing that doesn't get talked about. It's not like it's not like people, it's not like we, evil leftists. It's not like we always just like, nuke the site from orbit just to be sure, and
Yeah,
just can't fuck with this person. It's not like Gavin McInnes's, fuck you forever. We're not, it's not always like that. Like, it's never always just like a clean cut or something like that.
yeah,
Sometimes it starts with muting somebody. Sometimes it
yeah,
starts with like, like I said, I'm gonna scroll up or scroll down. And I posted that on Facebook before. I was like, some of y'all, some of y'all like are lucky that like I scroll up or scroll down so that we can remain friends.
yeah,
And everybody has their boundaries and their limits to where they're just like, okay, I just can't fucking take it. You are just a bit too problematic for me. I just can't fuck with you right now. And that's okay. You know what I mean? And it's like people really don't know what friendship means. Friendship doesn't mean that we get to know each other. And so you're allowed to pretty much like push through, habitually line step over
yeah.
over boundaries. Like, that's not what friendship is. Friendship is we get to know each other. I know your boundaries, you know mine, and since we respect each other enough, we don't cross them.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? We don't like go out of our way to just totally like I said, habitually line step over certain boundaries that we have with each other. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, yeah, we're friends. That doesn't, you don't get to like objectify me. That would be like you and I being friends and you sort of going out of your way to like try to touch my ass all the time.
right.
It's like, man, it's like, hey,
Yeah, not cool.
like, cool. Like,
Yeah,
oh, come on. You're wearing that shirt that I like, jazzy. Da, da, da. It's like, no,
yeah.
no,
Well, and
that's not how this works. It's not how any
and
of this works.
and also, I think a lot of people, because you brought it up a second ago, or you brought it up earlier about how well, so and so has always been nice to me. I mean, you can decide that you don't want to be friends with someone uh, if they've always been cool to you, but you see them habitually being an asshole to other people. You know what I mean? Like, that's completely fair. Like, if you and I were, we hung out in person all the time and we get along great and we're always cool with each other, but you know that I'm a fucking dick to that person over there, like, for no good reason.
Yeah, and it's
You
like,
can,
yeah, it's like, if you feel so compelled to like, why are you addicted to this person?
yeah,
You know, like, and I'm sure it's at times it can be difficult because it's like sometimes people don't like, oh my God, you have this thing with this person. I
yeah,
really don't want to get in the middle of that. Even though I'm hella cool with you, but me and this person are just having an exchange of ideas or whatever, and I'm not trying to insert myself into that drama or
yeah,
whatever. So I get it. At the same time, um, who's to say that it's not that you can't, you know, ask somebody or sort of, hold them accountable. Like, hey, like,
yeah,
I see that you're treating someone this specific way. What's up with that?
yeah.
And
Well,
that's simple. And then if that person is like, well, that's none of your business, and then they start being a dick to you, then you already have your answer. Oh,
exactly.
my friend was right about you. Okay, fine, no problem. But like I said, and it's especially to folks, you're talking about folks who have an established history being a shit to other people
Yeah,
and being a shit like for a living.
yeah,
Like, that's like the consistent part. They are consistently a shit to other people, and you see it. But you think somehow, you think you're special somehow, that you're safe.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Or
you're only safe as long as you stick within certain barriers that are okay for this person. Now, if you are okay with enduring that and putting yourself, you know, and walking on eggshells in that manner, do you? Life is more complicated than that.
yeah. Yeah.
So, but yeah, MythCon was shit. From what I'm sorry, I'm just totally switching the subject
No,
because
go for it. Go for
I
it.
don't know how much longer you can go.
I want to wrap up in a few minutes, but if you have
Okay,
something to say about MythCon, go
yeah,
for it.
because
And then we can talk
I
about.
definitely, you know,
Yeah.
from what I saw people who were live tweeting it. Of course, I heard the audio between Thomas Smith and
Yeah.
Sargon. Um, you know, from the person who was live tweeting the entire thing, I saw the screenshots and saw what and read what, you know, the person who was live tweeting, seeing what folks were talking about, this and that.
Yeah.
So it basically looks like it was a place where shitlords can go and give talks and just have their toxic shit be perpetuated and not questioned.
Yeah, exactly.
And also have folks going in thinking that they're going to do one thing and they end up doing another, and they're unprepared for that other thing. Like if Thomas was supposed to just interview Sargon, then that would have been a different story. That would have been all right, whatever. But then they just sent him in there to debate this asshole,
Yeah.
and he didn't have enough ammunition to really go in. He didn't have enough to be as prepared as probably as much as he probably would have wanted to be. Because that's the thing. If you are going to choose to go out of your way to engage with these folks, you have to be prepared.
Yeah.
You have to definitely prep, watch their videos, see what other live streams that they've done, you know, go through like their Twitter timeline and see whatever they talk about and retweet and things like that. Be prepared to be booed a lot because the folks that they cater to don't give a fuck about facts. I
Yeah.
mean, we're still having to explain to folks what it means when a person says, I wouldn't even blank.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like trying to explain what that, if you have to explain time and time again, oh well, what I really meant was no 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 no, that's bullshit. Like, and it's an insult to people's intelligence that he and folks are still trying to get away with, oh well, I wasn't trying to say that, what I was really trying to say is, motherfucker, we
Yeah.
know what it means when you say I wouldn't even rape you, or I wouldn't even fuck you, or I wouldn't even, you know, I wouldn't even, like, you know, let you stick the head in or something like that.
Yeah.
We know what the fuck it means. We paid attention in English class, motherfucker. We know what happens when you put certain words together. We can we can figure out what fucking context is.
Yeah.
Context clues, bitch. Like,
Well, and
it's a real and it's not only just, you know, of course, you know, his fanboys just insulted all the time, so they don't give a fuck. But it's an
yeah.
insult to everyone else who's sitting there and, you know, watching or listening to this shit, and you're just like, are you serious? And that's why he had to, when he recorded, you know, himself talking to his mother, he lied.
He rephrased it.
He
Absolutely.
rephrased it. Because, like, you knew what you were doing, bitch. Like, you knew exactly what the fuck you were doing.
Well, and you know,
No.
the other thing about it is that when you say something like that to a sexual assault survivor, you don't get to tell them how they're supposed to react to it.
Exactly. If you
Like,
decide to be a dick to somebody, you don't then get to dictate, no pun intended. You don't get to dictate to them how to react to the fucked up shit that you just said.
Yeah.
You don't get to police their reaction or what they do, especially if they decide to, I don't know, report you to Twitter or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
um it was, so basically MythCon was a shit show between Armin Skeptic and Shuan Head giving basically a talk, not being like questioned or having their ideas challenged in any way,
Yeah.
and of anti-theists who were arguing about Islam being the real problem and criticizing liberals for not taking it seriously enough and not
Yeah.
criticizing Islam enough, blah blah blah, yakety schmackety blah, the fucking atheist 101 spiel shit, that which sort of adds fuel to the fire on why atheists aren't really taken seriously.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Because while they've discarded God, they haven't discarded dogma. So, so yes, that is why, in my opinion, MythCon was shit, and that is also why the Atheist Conference will be better.
I was hoping you were going there.
That's right, I said it. At me.
Well, I mean, yeah, so you actually, this is kind of cool because I got in touch with you about being on a YouTube panel at the Atheist Conference next year, which you very graciously agreed to.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then you got talking to Lee, who's one of the organizers, and now you're actually doing a lot more there, aren't you? You're
Yeah.
more involved.
I helped them put the website together,
Yeah.
and get just gather up information and things like that, and talking about it on social media and things. How I met Lee is I went to this event, Godless Under the Stars.
Mm-hmm.
It's a gathering put on by Gotham City atheists and also
Yeah.
New York atheists, I believe. But basically, it was a night honoring Mandisa Thomas of Black Nonbelievers Inc. So Mandy was there, so of course I had to go. I had to go. And that's how I met Lee. We got to talking, and I was, like, wow, I'm really for this. I dig it. If there's any way I can, help to be involved, just let me know. And, he let me know that they were having some things with, getting their site off the ground, things like that. So I just offered to help with, that a little bit. And since it's the platform they're using is Wix, and I use Wix for my two websites. So it's easy.
and Mandisa will be at TAC.
Yep.
Well,
you'll be there. You'll be there.
yes, I'll be there.
Yeah, Christy will be there. Oh man, I just feel so great because since we're all so in a way so spread out across the world.
Yeah.
Here's the hoping that maybe Mike and the motivator will come, because that would be super. Actually,
That would be.
Actually, what am I talking about? I met Mike over summer.
I met Mike too. It's no big deal.
He came over because he was doing some work in a camp up in somewhere in upstate New York or whatever. So I got to hang out with him for a couple of hours. He's cool. So, but yeah, he can come back if he wants to. It's fine.
We'll let him back in the country.
Yeah, we'll let him back in the country. Yeah,
we'll leave word at the gate. Let that guy in if he shows up.
Yeah, I mean, not that I can stop him. He's got the complexion for the protection. So
he can come and go as he pleases.
Yeah, pretty much. He can come and go as he pleases. He's just like, what? Foxy said I couldn't come.
I hung out with him for an afternoon in Baltimore while he was in the country over the summer, and I used my awful down under accent once, and he was like, "Is that your Kiwi accent?" And I was like, "Okay, no, sorry, I'm sorry."
Sometimes, yeah, if it's bad, sometimes we just gotta apologize to those guys.
Yeah. So this was awesome. And I feel like I want to just double underline the atheist conference, because that's going to be a big deal. And that is, again, it'll be July 6th, 7, and 8
Right.
next year.
July 6th through the 8th at the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown Manhattan. And tickets
Yeah.
are available now. Go to theatheistconference.com, buy your tickets, purchase the hotel, book your hotel stay, because it's only $169 a night. And
Yeah.
that's for a Midtown Manhattan hotel. Trust me, I live in New York where everything's too fucking expensive. Well, $169 a night at a Midtown Manhattan hotel, and because it's right near Grand Central,
Yeah.
y'all.
And it's a 4-star hotel. Like, it's a
And it's a
gorgeous.
4-star hotel. So definitely jump on that. Definitely, please jump on that discount, because if they book enough rooms, we'll definitely be able to have it there in 2019 and going forward and things like that. So please, go to theatheistconference.com, like TAC on Facebook, TAC. Follow the Atheist Conference. We're on Twitter. It's at the Atheist Conf something.
Yeah. I think
It's
it's
at
the Atheist Conf.
CONF. It's at the
Yeah.
Atheist Conf. Follow us there. Well, I mean, follow the Atheist Conference there. And yeah, man, more speakers to come. Aaron Ross speaking there.
Yep.
I finally get to meet him. I didn't get to meet him. David Silverman is there. Hemat, the Friendly Atheist, right?
Yeah. Hemet Meta. Yeah.
The Friendly Atheist. He'll be showing up. Christy Winters will be there. The one janitor will be there.
Yeah.
Contra
Contra
will be there. It's gonna be a lot of fun. I actually have to talk to Lee about asking True Puka to be like a speaker or something.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
And he's local, so
Yeah. I'm trying to arrange that. So I'm gonna talk. I'm actually I think I may end up hanging with Puka and Bunny on Friday. So
oh, cool.
So yeah, we could talk about that a bit more. But yeah, I'm definitely trying for that, because it's too bad we can't talk about this now. Maybe another time.
Yeah.
But I am definitely on board with his Atheum Minus idea.
Yeah, me too.
I have to I'm going to ask him if I can mirror that video, because it was good.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
It's like atheism minus all this fucking awful horseshit.
Exactly.
Has been attached to it. Yeah. And I mean,
it doesn't give me the feel from Atheist Plus, because like one of the first videos I made was criticizing Atheism Plus. It really wasn't like it really wasn't like my bag. I had nothing personally against it, but I think
me neither.
But I just wasn't with the idea of pushing that, because I'm an atheist, it's only natural that I'm blah, blah, blah. And it's like, and it's not really that way. Like I started getting into feminism at the same time that I was, letting go of religion and things like that. But I cared about, racism and sexism also. I cared about all that stuff before I, gave up religion. So it's not necessarily connected. I don't think that I don't think it's logical to really say like, oh, because I'm an atheist, I'm a feminist because I'm an atheist and this and this and that. People come to those things. People come to those things for a lot of reasons. And even people become atheists for a lot of reasons, personal experiences, reading the book, reading like, the Bible and the Quran and stuff like that, and questioning things, what I'm saying? Some people may have done so far as, to almost become a priest. Some people have gone to seminary school and just got to the point where just like, this doesn't really make sense to me anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I think that's really why, besides the whole, because it was mostly feminists sort of behind it or whatever.
Oh yeah,
it got a lot of pushback and stuff like that. But I think focusing on, advocating for, secular causes and things like that. And we can also find common ground in things like making sure that the country stays secular, making sure that our government stays secular, tackling discrimination because of, being atheist or agnostic, non-believing or whatever, fighting for certain causes like healthcare and reproductive justice and things like that. Things that affect everyone as secular Americans, that I feel like our focus should be on and could be on.
Yeah.
But if not for the shitlords who focus on culture war, and not even just focus on that, but just push false information, disinformation, and just outright bigoted things.
Yeah.
Because they'd rather focus on that, because the other things that need to be focused on, they either don't give a shit about it, because their daily lives won't be affected if, say, an atheist can never be president, or more non-believing folks can't get into office, or that neighborhoods are gerrymandered, or that the Johnson Amendment is repealed or something like that, because you don't see them talking about these things. They don't, because like that, it's in their best interest to continue being anti-feminist and things like that, because that's their bread and butter. That's their lane, so they stay in it. They may come, which, I mean, granted, that's all they know how to do. They're all one-trick ponies and carbon copies of each other. So, when they try to come for other people and they get pushed back to their lane, that's fine. But the rest of us are over here, and we're actually trying to do shit, because there is shit going on besides the cultural stuff. The social and the cultural stuff, we care about that too.
Yeah.
And we can care about that and care about these things that actively affect other people, which we now know that people like Sargon, he doesn't give a shit about. He doesn't give a shit about about things being inclusive and, welcoming, marginalized folks into the fold. He does not care about that. And this is the thing. This is a thing. The last thing we'll say this and I'll go. I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
In regards to folks wanting to engage with the other side, these people have shown you and told you who they are, and what they care about, what they don't care about. They've let you know who and what they are from day one. So you already know the deal going in. Now, if you still want to go and engage, then that's on you again, but, it's a very unnuanced and a very privileged thing to pontificate on that and harp on leftists who choose not to engage, either because they know that it's a waste of time, or marginalized groups, we know that it's a waste of time and that they won't listen. And also, it's not like we go out of our way to avoid it, because it's in our face every day. We deal with it every day. I've probably been called a nigger more since I've been active on Twitter than I ever have in my life. I'm in New York. It's not saying that racist things don't happen in New York, but they do. But the more active I become on social media and things like that, it's But anyway, so that's it. theatheistconference.com. Go buy tickets. Go reserve a room. Do it. You have so many months.
That's the one to end on, baby.
Right. T'Challa says, go do it.
And go see that movie when it comes out.
And go see
it
Black
looks
Panther.
awesome. All right.
No, white people, you cannot wear dashikis. They're not for you.
White people just we should let's just dress how we always dress.
Yeah,
Let's
just
just
come, just come with really tight jeans, or mom and dad jeans and mom and dad shirts and chucks. Like, it's okay.
I'm gonna go wearing a Superman shirt just to be a clueless asshole, just to be
Or
like,
oh God, don't
what? What? No, I won't.
go buy at least buy a
Yeah,
Black Panther shirt.
buy a Black Panther shirt.
Yes,
Yes.
do it.
It does look like an awesome movie. I really can't wait to see
So
it.
says T'Challa. It looks so good. Like, I can't wait. And I can tell that that a lot of the material from like the Christopher Priest run and from Coates's run, with
Yeah,
how his suit just comes automatically on his face and things like that. I
yeah,
can tell that, Ryan Coogler, he did his homework. And that's good. That's good. And he's got all the right actors. He's pretty much got every Black actor in America and Britain. I'm here for it so much.
yeah. It looks great.
So much.
Well, FoxyJazzabelle, thank you so much for hanging out with me for a couple hours.
Thank you, King SJWC.
Exactly. I'm king of the S Jews. People,
Yeah, apparently you're king of the S Jews from that. You remember that old drawing, that they did of you?
Yeah, I was the big one on top. Yeah.
You were so, I was like, damn, Steve is so big. He's like,
They don't do what I tell them.
exactly.
It's like all these people down below me. Like I don't. Even if I tried to boss them around, I don't think they listen to me.
It's like, do you guys actually if you guys actually broke into our, private groups and stuff like that, nobody does what Steve says. Like, nobody does what Steve tells them.
Yeah, they ignore me most of the time.
Yeah, they're like,
shut up.
They're like, what? Fuck you.
Who asked you?
Pretty much Rage Against the Machine. Fuck you. I won't do what you tell me.
If only they knew how little power I had.
Yeah. Shit. Like, guys,
Oh,
I'm just a man with a wife and a cat. Like,
yeah, that's all. I'm just trying to make my way in this world,
Yeah, pretty much. Like, look, like, guys, I just make YouTube videos. Who am I?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, Foxy.
All right. It's good talking with you, Steve.
Good talking with you too. Bye, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye, everybody.